down the stories, every view will unwind. From left to right, we'll see the light. It's balance, we're chasing, no fighters fight. Good is still be talking straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Good is still be here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Good is still be keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay on while it's diving deep with Curtis. So be the combos you need. The combos you need. Insights, it's on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, it's diving deep with Curtis Selby, the convo's unique. Curtis Selby, talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, it's diving deep with Curtis Selby, the combos you need. The combos you need. The combos you need.
Hail and well met, everybody. I start off the whole stream by thanking Accounting Sheep for a generous $2 super chat. Ahoy indeed. And because of your generosity, you may pick the song that I will end the stream with. Either that or maybe I'll read something in a pirate voice. Your choice. Your money. I want you to be happy that you spent it. All right, well, let's dive in to the general stuff. You know, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Become a member, become a generous member like Accounting Sheep. I got to tell you guys, I received my funding from all those super chats and memberships, and it really has helped. It really has. I'm not saying that I'm living in abject and despairing poverty, but it really was a shot in the arm. So thank you guys very, very much. It's very much appreciated. And Lizzie Armstrong, hi there. Cassie is outside taking care of business. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to try very hard to keep this stream under an hour and a half, or at least under 2 hours, because I want to have a little bit of time to kind of zen out between this stream and the dark shadows. Kapla! Glory to you and your house at Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I believe I got off and at home just in time to catch the last 5 seconds of your outro music to your Walton's review. I'm sorry about that, but the good news is I believe I am off Friday, Thursday and Friday both. So if I can continue this upward health inclination, I'm still mildly sick, but not badly. It's mainly just a little frog in my throat, just a little bit of tiredness, but not like overwhelming. Gorillas, everyone stay on topic so we can keep the stream to an hour and a half. You got it. All right. So let's dive in to the topic. Let's see if I'm smart enough to. Man, StreamYard keeps changing stuff. I don't know if I like it. Anyways. Here we go. Hopefully I can share this. There we go. Articles 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the Constitution. I'm being a little unfair here, but I kind of consider this like the Gilligan's Island, how they treated the professor and Marianne. In fact, I think I will give you a little tiny element of your money accounting sheet. I almost called you Chips Ahoy. I am a little sick still, but I'm not going to sing Gilligan's Island. I don't need the copyright strike, but parody is allowed under fair use. Look it up, YouTube. So, we've talked about Article 1 and Article 2 and Article 3 and its wife. No movie stars. And the rest are here on Curtis Selby's blog. Yes. So, I've always kind of unfairly thought of these articles as just, yeah, let's tack these on as well. They were necessary though, and they actually are important. It's just that the first three are the real skeletal structure. These are the three branches of government. But let's read Articles 4, 5, 6, and 7 since they are relatively short, and then we'll discuss some of the importance of them. And then we'll have a pretty good grasp of the basic Constitution itself minus the amendments. So Article 4, this one more or less helps to explain how the federal government and the state governments are supposed to interact and what have you. It kind of helped with some of the issues that came up in the debate of the committees. Article 4, Section 1, full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effect thereof. So that classically, if you're married in one state, you're married in all states. If you have a driver's license, California, in one state, you have a driver's license in all states. Section 2, the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. So essentially, you can't move to Texas and Texas say, well, because you're actually an Oklahoma citizen, you don't have the right to free speech. You don't have the right to keep and bear arms. You don't have the right because you're a citizen of another state. No. This right here is why states can't do that to at least to citizens of other states. Of course, that opens a can of worms when it comes to illegal aliens, but I'm not going to be like my liberal friends. I'm not going to be sidetracked into debate on this issue. A person charged in any state with treason, felony. I can't believe you support a felon. Or other crime, who shall flee from justice and be found in another state, shall, on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime. So if I commit moida in this state, I can't just rush to Texas and be okay. I have to go all the way to Mexico, or really just, well, You know what I mean. You have to go to a non-extradition treaty country if you want to actually be safe from prosecution. This next section is no longer applicable, but I'm going to read it anyway, if only for historical purposes. No person held to service or labor in one state, read slaves, under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall in consequence of any law or regulation therein be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. I suppose you might, I'm not an attorney, so, this may or may not apply. It might apply to escaped felons or criminals from one state or the other, but honestly, I think that's already taken care of in the previous sentence. This is specifically for slaves, and the 13th Amendment, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments basically make that sentence null and void now. An amendment has altered that. Section 3, new states may be admitted by the Congress into this union. This was a big point of debate. But no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state. The one exception so far, only exception because of the Civil War, has been West Virginia. Nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned, as well as of the Congress. Now, of course, I'm sure we could have debate and, well, yeah, the West Virginia was formed, blah 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 blah, this and that. It was basically the Civil War. I'm being a little bit arbitrary in my interpretation of history, but long and the short, Civil War. The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States. And nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or of any particular state. It's basically legalese saying that it's not unconstitutional for the United States to acquire territory. Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Now, that's very important because essentially no state is going to be joined that is a monarchy. No state shall join. This was actually part of the difficulty with Oklahoma becoming a state, because there was a lot of struggle on mainly with the Native Americans, but there were also some whites that wanted the Native Americans to have their own state or states. And one of the problems with that was not all of the tribes were Republican, and nearly all of them are now. But at the time, there were still, some, you might call them monarchies, you might call them aristocracies, however you want to call it. So that was sadly also used as some of the justification for, well, we need to take all that land from these Indians and just arbitrarily make it a state and screw them and the horse they rode in on. Again, I want to stay on topic, but if a state is going to join, it can't be a dictatorship. It can't be a monarchy. It has to be at least some form of a republic. There have to be representatives that are sent, maybe not necessarily in a democratic style, but in some representative fashion, to the state capital to form the laws for the state. Anyway, every state shall also protect each of them against invasion. So, take for example, if you do hold that the illegal immigration was an invasion, I'm not saying that you have to, I don't want to get political. I'm just saying that if that is your thought, then a state that doesn't cooperate with trying to contain that invasion is violating this section of the Constitution. I realize that that's to some of the liberal friends that that'll be a stretch, but I think the founding fathers likely would agree with it, that if a state is being invaded, all of the states have to help and defend that state from invasion. On application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. So, there was a lot of debate. I don't want to get too deeply into it about who was responsible for protecting Washington on January 6th. According to this, it's very vaguely stated, but if I'm understanding it, it's the responsibility of the legislature and the executive of the state to, one, do all they can to stop invasion, and two, to send a request to Washington, hey, we need help. So, and they're not supposed to basically interfere. They're not supposed to help the invaders. They are supposed to fight against the invaders. It would basically be like the governor of Hawaii at the time, who had granted that was a territory, but well, you know, Pearl Harbor happened, but I don't care. I don't care. Article 5. You may be seeing why I call these and the rest. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, which, if memory serves, appertain to slavery. And that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. So there it is. There's now only one thing that, according to the Constitution, we can't constitutionally change. Every state, that's the absolute minimum, that every state has to have equal votes in the Senate. Article 6. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. We're basically declaring that our money's good and we're going to handle our debts, damn it. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So if a state, or frankly, if there's a judge that says, you know what, Trump can't do something and then you look it up and it says that the president has that power, then that judge's ruling is constitutionally, it's null and void. It's right there. I just read it. Now, if you want to say that's bullshit, that's fine, but take it up with the founding fathers, not me. I didn't write it. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. And I'm going to try desperately to get to that before the end of this show. Article VII. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states, so ratifying the same. The word "the" being interlined between the 7th and 8th lines of the first page, the word 30 being partly written on an erasure on the 15th line of the first page, the words "is tried" being interlined between the 32nd and 30. Anyway, there's some editorial crap there. You can read it if you want to. Attest William Jackson, Secretary, done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present, 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th, in witness thereof, we have hereunto subscribed our names. I won't read them all, but some of the absolute heroes, flawed human beings, yes, but still absolute heroes in getting us to where we are today. I'll read some of the names. George Washington. Let's see who else. John Rutledge of South Carolina. Charles Pinckney of South Carolina. Roger Sherman of Connecticut. Alexander Hamilton of New York. He's the only one from New York, if you'll notice. Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, relative of mine, God bless him. And Governor Morris, who I really want to do a stream about one of these days. I think he is one of the most underrated of the founding fathers, and you almost never hear him talked about. And all these jackasses that want to say, well, private funds can't be used to fund the government, need to read up on Governor Morris, because we would probably not be independent if it weren't for his very private funding of our revolution. All right, I'm way behind in the chat, so let's see who we've got. Gorillas, you're stuck on season 1. After season 1, it said the Professor and Mary Ann. Oh, I have it backward then, because I seem to remember it being the other way about. But yeah, hashtag Team Mary Ann. Chatty Blogger, welcome. Too late, you took my parody of Gilligan for these political constitutional final amendments. Yes, indeed. Gorillas, tell that to the blue states, because I can't carry my firearm across state lines. Yeah, that is, in fact, unconstitutional, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say it, but I just read it. It's right there. If you have a license for that gun in one state, now I can accept the debate about whether conceal and carry and blah, 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 but you should have the right to possess it, and you should have the right to carry it across state lines. I know, like I say, I'm willing to listen to debate as far as conceal and carry, but if you have a license for it, you should be able to put it in your vehicle, safely contained, drive across state lines. But we are in a weird dystopia. Yeah, flee to Morocco. That's like one of the 3 non-extradition treaty nations. Did you know they're riding on the Marrakesh Express? And Railway Nation Gaming Clips. Yay, recap. You've changed your name. Curtis, I might do the watch party Sunday, but I don't know. Is Sunday morning update okay for you to let me know? Yeah, I will try to get up. I'm sorry I had been sick, but I will try to let you know. Probably be home around 9:45 or 10. And I'm going to write it down on my calendar so that I remember. Real Wade Nation. There we go. He is doing a stream of Gravity Falls, which has been very fun. It's a fun show with a cranky uncle who reminds me of me if I were just a little bit less messed up. Go ahead and stop sharing. And Gorillas is saying, what if the states are being invaded and the federal government sits on its tail for, let's say, 4 years? Yeah, it's a good point, because according to what I just read, that means your government's not valid. And let's face it, that is the most basic thing that a government must do, is to protect you to the best of its ability from invasions. And if it can't do that, then it's basically fallen. I see a lot of videos, and I'm kind of getting tired of seeing the caption, but this state has fallen, or this country has fallen, or this city has fallen. And then you listen to it, and all too often it's just a bunch of clickbait. But there's also some validity. If your government can't preserve you from invasion, it's really not a government. I don't know what you would call it, but oh, good Lord, Mikey, really? Will you please, no offense to you, but please provide an instance, like a legitimate instance of radical right militias invading any place. Any place. All right. Welcome, LDG at Free the Net. Howdy, howdy. Not even sure what that is, gorillas. Chatty, federal units are only allowed to enter state if the local state authorities are unable to control chaotic outside forces. Well, let's go back to what the Constitution says. I don't have to paraphrase. I have it right here in front of me. Window. All right. We talked about full faith and credit. We talked about person charged with felonies. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. On application of the legislature or the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. So I'm taking it, Mikey, and we can have this debate because that's the wording. It's not the paraphrasing, that's the wording. The United States shall guarantee to every state. And that's pretty strong, but then it does get a little equivocal here when it goes to on application of the legislature. but then we have to go into, and because I want to keep it short, I may have to do this on a different stream, but where's the line? Where do we decide that it's too violent? There's too much violence. There's too much riots. Because I'm going to guarantee you, Washington, I don't think he asked for any state's permission. When there was a rebellion, when there's the Whiskey Rebellion, he went in with troops and he stopped it personally. So, and illegals, according to certain sources, would apply to define chaotic forces. And again, that's the debate. Did these instances, were they, how does the Constitution word it? I got all persnickety about the exact wording, so let's be sure I've got it again. The state shall be protected against invasion. So how do you define the word invasion? I personally think that what I saw from the videos of things going on across the California border and the Texas border and the Arizona border, that actually, was it violent? No. But then we also were doing absolutely nothing to stop it. We were just letting people through. So again, I suppose we have to figure out what's the definition. By at least my definition of an invasion, that was an invasion. And I'll tell you why. If it had been 9/10 women and children, or even half women and children, I would have said, oh, you know what? It's just people trying to get a better life and blah, blah, blah. But when 2/3 to 3/4 of them are military aged men, no, that's not just people seeking a better life. That's a frightening thing that shouldn't be happening. Gorillas, me and Pop reviewed all the episodes, so I should know. That's awesome. That's awesome. Curtis, try taking your gun into California or New Jersey. They will throw your ass in prison for 4 years. Yeah. Again, and I'm sorry to say it, but we just read it. It's unconstitutional. That is an unconstitutional law. Now, I could see making some yakety schmackety provisions or whatever. You can take it in your car, but you can't take it out of the car. I still wouldn't like that, but I could at least see it. But just taking a gun you have a license for into that state absolutely has to be legal. It has to be. It's unconstitutional. Well, yeah, but we got to do something about gun violence. Well, yeah, true. So, but I don't think that destroying our Constitution is the answer. I don't think that. Possibly I'm wrong. Mikey, the U.S. Constitution as a whole does have many slippery slopes, as I've learned over the years before leaving the country. It has its flaws, and you may think that that is a flaw. I disagree with you, but you may think that. So there it is. And howdy there, Sci-Fi Sith Dan, and hello, hello. All right, so we have read and the rest. Let's do a little bit of a discussion on and the rest. I'm hoping that I don't have to go through a paywall to go through this one. Let's start with the full faith and credit clause, because that I think it's the biggest thing that we're discussing right now. Is the Constitution just full of crap? Is that something that we should just ignore because we're so enlightened? Or was that a wise thing that the founding fathers did? Or should we amend it? Article 4, Section 1. This is from Constitution Annotated. Article 4, Section 1, just read it. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may be, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effects thereof. So I could see, for example, saying that you have to have your license on you and maybe even the bill of receipt that proves that you bought this gun. Again, I personally think that's going too far, but I could at least see making you have to do that. But if you have that, your ass should not go to jail for carrying a gun across the state line. It's full faith and credit. You are a citizen of the goddamn United States. Therefore, you have the right to this. It is guaranteed by this Constitution. And again, I know that some of you don't agree with that, and you found a better place in Canada. The Supreme Court reinterpreted the full faith and credit clause in Chicago and Alton Railroad versus Wiggins Ferry Company, in which the court indicated that the clause itself, not just the statute Congress passed to implement the clause, compelled its holdings in mills requiring states to give out-of-state judgments conclusive effect. Whatever that means. Cases following Chicago and Alton Railroad, God dang it, similarly characterize the clause itself as imposing this requirement, often without mentioning the full faith and credit statute. This was obviously written for legal scholars better than me. The court did not explain why it reconceptualized Mills' holding as a constitutional command rather than a legislative mandate. Thus, under the court's current interpretation of the clause, courts ordinarily must give an out-of-state judgment the same effect it would have in the state that issued it. A court may not disregard an out-of-state judgment merely because it disagrees with the reasoning underlying the judgment or deems it to be wrong on the merits. The clause precludes any inquiry into the merits of the cause of action, the logic or consistency of the decision, or the validity of the legal principles on which the judgment is based. What do you guys think about that? Nor may state courts decline to enforce other states' judgments for public policy reasons. So the court, in my humble opinion, gave itself a lot more power there. Because we just read the section in the Constitution, and I'll go back and read it again if you want me to, where basically this Constitution's the law of the land. A court order is not what matters. What matters is the Constitution itself. And the court seems to be saying, no, that's not the case. The modern court, however, still is the way he says it, but I feel like however would be a better word. The modern court recognizes limited circumstances in which a state may refuse to enforce an out-of-state judgment. For example, a state need not honor a judgment of the rendering court lack jurisdiction to enter it. I hope you caught that. If your jurisdiction has nothing to do with it, then you should not, a state's not required to honor. I'm not going to even go so far as to say that a judge shouldn't make the ruling, but a state has the right to say, go pound sand. You have no authority here. A court's power to scrutinize another court's jurisdiction is limited, however. The court must ordinarily presume that the issuing court had jurisdiction unless the judicial record or other evidence reveals a jurisdictional defect. Sadly, that means that courts would have to do research. God forbid we have that. If the parties in the first action litigated whether the rendering court had jurisdiction, and the first court answered that question affirmatively, because that's what I'm going to do. That this is the part that the article is not letting you know, and I maybe shouldn't do your thinking for you, but of course, if I made the ruling, I'm going to say, yeah, I have jurisdiction. Of course I do. The judge over the court of tired bloggedness, of course I have jurisdiction over what the president does and what the Congress can do. And yeah. But anyway, if the first court answers affirmatively, the second court must accept that conclusion. My question, why can't the second court, if it's not in that jurisdiction? If it is, okay, I get it. But if a New York judge says something, an Oklahoma court, and vice versa for that matter, I guarantee that if an Oklahoma court makes a ruling, there ain't no judge in New York who's going to listen to it. That's just that dumbass Okie. For some reason, that's okay. I don't know. But anyway, the second court must accept that conclusion. Because the full faith and credit clause ordinarily requires states to give out-of-state judgments the same effect as the states that issued them, whether a judgment has conclusive effect depends on whether the issuing court would regard the judgment as final. While some states hold that a judgment is final for full faith and credit purposes even when it is pending on appeal, other states hold that a judgment is not final until the appellate process has concluded. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that judges overdo? Do you think they underdo? Or as is often the case, our party does it the right way, your party does it the wrong way? Mikey, generally in a world like ours, there isn't a better place to live anywhere. You can't even go off the grid anymore to escape anyone. I still dare persons to try. Well, good on you there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't mean to be a jingoist, but I really don't think. I still want to visit some places, but I really still think we are the freest country that there is. I know a lot of our freedoms have withered away because we've allowed them to, as I'm kind of trying to point out here, that we've used litigation and we've used what I would say are false principles to whittle away the protections of the Constitution. Because the whole point of that section was to make sure that you were safe to travel in any state. And here's the deal. The whole thing we're talking about now is safety. If law and order is not happening, you're not safe. If it's only the criminals that have pew-pews, you're not safe. Tim, welcome, Tim. Yes, I got that reference. What's this and the rest crap? We are talking about Articles 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the Constitution. So let's move on. Let's see what's the next topic I wanted to deal with. I believe that I will going to skip to Article 6 because I think Article 5, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's I feel like at least it should be fairly straightforward. Essentially, that tells us how ratification or amendments are going to happen. And I think that's one of the best things that we ever did. Now, possibly they may have made it too difficult to make an amendment, or maybe we've just gotten as big as a republic can get, because it is virtually impossible now to amend it. And I think that part of that is just that we have so many states, it's almost impossible to get 3/4 of anybody to agree on anything. All right. So, Article 6. Dooby doo 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 dooby doo boo. All right. I'm going to use factually.com. It's one of those fact checking sites. I have no idea how left or right wing it is. We'll find out. Did Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution ban religious tests for federal office in 1789? I know that there's been a lot of debate over whether Trump is allowed to do a loyalty oath. Now, I'm not keen on loyalty oaths, but I'm okay with them to a point. But there is a constitutional limit to where that loyalty oath can be. Your religion cannot be any part of it. Article 6 is the no religious test clause that was adopted by the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Operative with the new federal government in 1789, barred any formal religious test as a qualification for federal office. Historical debate at the time and later legal interpretation focused on its scope, interaction with state practices, and the meaning of oaths that include religious phrases. How the Constitution put religion and office holding on a new constitutional footing. The Constitution's Article 6 contains the precise language that no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States, a provision the convention adopted in August 30 of 1787 and that became part of the governing charter when the federal government began operations in 1789. Before this time, this is my own commentary, not this article. There were a lot of colonies that had religious tests. You had to be a Puritan of a certain church, or you had to be a Protestant of a certain church. I don't think many states didn't at least require you to be basically a white landowning Protestant. And there was a lot of debate because there turned out to be a fair number of Jews and even a very small, but a small number of Muslims who were here, who helped with the fight for independence. And the founding fathers were like, well, they helped us get our independence. They should be allowed to vote, even though they have different religions. So they had this put in because they didn't want it to become a theocracy. This language removed the possibility of a formal legal disqualification for federal office based on religious belief, and represented a deliberate break with many English and colonial precedents that mandated confessional conformity for public service. Contemporary advocates such as James Madison argued the oath to support the Constitution would suffice. As long as you were for this Constitution, we don't care what your other beliefs are, whether you believe in the floating spaghetti monster, whether you're in Mikey's church or Gorilla's church or Curtis's church. None of that should matter. Be for this Constitution. That oath should suffice. While opponents feared the election of non Christians, those debates illuminate why the framers inserted categorical protection against religious tests. The clause thus established a constitutional baseline forbidding government from conditioning federal office on religious profession. See who all's commenting. Um, oh, hey. What do we got here? Where are we at? I feel like where did I lose you guys? All right. So, chatty blogger, countries like the U.S. and Canada have undergone what I call political implosions. We're falling apart from the inside out. John Ponterero has been a member for 4 months. Thank you, and welcome. Like I said earlier, I got my money for this month's super chats and memberships, and it really helped. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I'm still kind of living on pauper's wages, but I'm getting by. So don't stress about it. But it was greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Tim, I feel like it does need to be less than 3/4. Resolute Germ, welcome. It's too hard to amend the Constitution, so the courts have taken that power. Well put, Resolute Germ. Well put. I don't know. Part of me feels like we should make it easier, but I concur with you, Resolute Germ. It shouldn't be arbitrary judges just making their own decisions on what the Constitution is, especially when it's right there. We can just look the damn thing up. And most of it, I mean, some of it's convoluted, but mostly it's written in a form that the average person could kind of understand. And welcome, Sci-Fi Sifdam. A great statement here, I think. It's about power and control. Nowadays, to live in a safe and orderly society, we become too comfortable for that. If we speak out against them, then you risk losing. Agreed. They will use their power to silence you and demonize you. And that's correct. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've done a lot fewer political blogs because basically they wore me out. I don't mind debating, but when you can just basically take my power to say it away, it's tough. Help him get some money to buy dog food. Yes, Cassie, thanks you guys. I guarantee that some of your money went to pay for some treats for Cassie. So hopefully you think that is money well earned. And let's see what else these folks have to say. What historians say about the clause's origins and immediate controversy. Historians trace the clause's proposal to delegates like Charles Pinckney and document lively ratification era controversy. Some commentators and anti-federalists worried that eliminating explicit religious qualifications would allow Jews, Catholics, or non-believers into high office, while Federalists defended pluralist and civic arguments for exclusion of religious tests. The inclusion aimed to diffuse sectarian accusations and protect conscience by replacing confessional barriers with a civic oath. So basically, you're promising to protect the Constitution and to protect the the actual safety and strength and good well-being of your location, of the place you're representing, of your country. Ratification and the subsequent First Amendment addressed related anxieties about federal establishment and liberty, but contemporaries continued to debate ceremonial practices such as whether the phrase, "So help me God," and oaths constituted an unconstitutional test, showing the clause's text settled one matter while leaving practical questions unsettled. And I would be interested to know what you guys think. Is it going too far to have "So help me God" in oaths, like court oaths and things like that? I personally, I the way I stand on it is, if that should be something that's up to the person making the oath, because I can't decide for you what's actually sacred to you. If you believe in God and you want to throw out "So help me God," I think that should be okay, but I don't think it should be required. That's just me. Feel free to disagree either way. Legal interpretation: how courts read the no religious text clause over time. Courts and scholars have read Article VI not only to forbid explicit statutory religious tests, but also to constrain governmental preferences among religions in the context of office holding and public benefits. Supreme Court jurisprudence and scholarship commonly treat the clause as a core constitutional protection for religious liberty and equal civic standing. Later rulings applied First Amendment principles to extend limitations on state religious texts and align judicial doctrine with Article VI's original command. Debate persists about boundaries, whether the clause bars informal discriminatory consideration of a candidate's religion in nominations or confirmations, and commentators note differing approaches when oath practices or ceremonial invocations intersect with long-standing customs. I'm going to interject some of my own commentary here. While I absolutely think that everyone should have the right to believe what they want, one thing that has always bothered me, no matter where I've stood on my beliefs, when a city decides they want to put up a nativity scene, and then a court says they can't do that. I personally think that's bullshit. Or if they want to have the Ten Commandments up there, uh, and then the court says you can't have that up there, I think that's bullshit. I think when it goes so far as to say no religion whatsoever, then I think it becomes just a tool for an anti-human regime. Now, I get what some people might say. Well, yeah, but that's part of my taxes, and I don't want it going to a nativity scene. And I do get that. And that is a debate that should be had through debate, through the civic system. If you can convince enough people, then, you know, that's one thing, but just arbitrarily using judges to stop whatever, I've never liked that. I've never liked that. Now, of course, I think we do have to be careful, because as the right becomes more powerful, I don't I don't want the right to start clubbing people over the head with judges the way the libs have. I don't talk much about it because I don't think there's a lot of fear of it unless we have more than two more terms, because it's going to take a long ass time. It's one of the strategies that the libs have used, is to fill tons, and let's create some judge territories that didn't exist and fill them with liberal judges. And like I say, it took Reagan several years to appoint as many judges as Carter appointed in one day at the end of his term. The practical gap between text and practice in early America. Back to the article. Although Article VI forbade religious tests at the federal level, many states continued to enforce religious qualification for state offices well into the 19th century, and some federal oaths retained religiously phrased options. This produced a practical divergence between the Constitution's clear textual ban for federal positions and on the ground practices, which required later legal and political struggles to reconcile. The framers anticipated friction. The clause functioned as a federal limit, but did not immediately resolve entrenched state statutes, local customs, or attitudes that continued to exclude religious minorities from political life until further legal change and social shifts occurred. I remember Thoreau, Henry David, well, I'm having a senior moment, but Thoreau was actually put in prison because he wouldn't pay his church tithes. And that's when he wrote Civil Disobedience, which was very influential on Gandhi and on Martin Luther King. So if the states, and that's an argument that can be made. I'm not saying that I necessarily know where to stand on that, but the federal government absolutely shouldn't do it, but could the states do it? That was the argument that the people made in the 19th century. Well, according to the 10th Amendment, the states can do blah, 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 blah. And it became a big can of worms. Competing perspectives and why the controversy lingers. Scholars and commentators split on emphasis. Some stress the clause's unequivocal textual ban and its forward looking secular principle, while others emphasize the historical compromises and continuing ambiguities in oath language and administrative practice. Both views are grounded in fact. The text is categorical, yet implementation and interpretive questions about ceremonial religious phrasing, vetting practices, and state level qualifications have remained contested. Recognizing these competing strands clarifies why the no religious text clause is both a clear constitutional prohibition and a locus for recurring legal and political debate. All right, got some chat going on. Uh-oh. All right, Resolute Germ, we're paying the price for their short-sightedness. If they ever thought Muslims would have any kind of numbers here, they would have put in a test. I have such very mixed emotions about it because I want to argue with you, but then when I see the things that are going on in England and France and Switzerland and what I can't remember what city it is, but there's now a city that has basically there's a strong enough Muslim population that there is contention. And is that good? Is that bad? I feel like what's happening in England and in Europe is definitely bad, is unequivocally bad. What's going on in the United States, I'm willing to debate to a point, but only to a point. Oh, gorillas, yes. We need to put it in crayon eating terms. In crayon eating terms, I'm going to paraphrase, I think it was John Adams. The Constitution was designed for a literate, well-educated, moral, Christian society. I don't want to sound racist, but from what I've seen of Muslim applications of republics, I do not know that he was wrong. because it doesn't seem to work when Muslims try to use it. I don't understand why. I just finished reading a book about Sufism, and if the principles in that book were applied, I don't understand why a republic couldn't work. But that doesn't seem to be what's applied. So I don't know. I don't understand it, but it just doesn't seem to work. Gorillas has been censored. All right. All he said was, we need to fight it out. 1960s. Oh, 1860s style. Yeah, I disagree with having censored you, but I can see why they did, because that always promoting violence. Gorillas, blue or gray? A good question. Gorillas, love Curtis trying to be a milk toast fence sitter. I don't mean to be that way. It's just I mean what I said. I just finished reading a book on Sufism, which is kind of ridiculous probably, but I did. I just sat down and read it. And it wasn't a perfect book, but it was a decently written book. I still feel like Sufi Islam appeals to me. Just about everything else about Islam, if I'm going to be honest, appalls me. And if that makes me an ist in any way, I'm sorry. But let's see here. We've got Sith Dan, the feather headdress. Resolute German Islam just doesn't work. And like I say, as a Christian, I'm predisposed to agree with you. I only want to be equivocal in that I do think that there were people in the past, like Shams Tabriz would be one, the poet Rumi. I think there were Muslims in the past who could have lived and been great citizens in a republic, but Islam, as I see it today, maybe I'm just seeing the wrong stuff. Islam, as I've seen it in my lifetime, you would need some kind of a tyranny. I'm just saying. I hate to say it, but I want to believe that freedom is for all people. But how can you be free when so many people are violent? John Ponterero, Curtis Selby, keeping it real, just trying. I'm trying to keep it real, and that's I'm not meaning to be a milk toast. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. I'm trying to give you what's actually in my heart, and not just pandering. You're right. It would be easy to do. You're absolutely right. Islam is bad. Islam is the worst thing ever. Look at the Twin Towers. And I got to tell you, there is a part of me that's exactly what I want to say. Look at the Twin Towers. You shall know them by their fruits. And this is what the Sufis would say too, by the way, if there are any Islamists listening. This is what Shams Tabriz, this is what Rumi. I don't know about Muhammad. I would hope he would say it. I don't know if he would, but Shams Tabriz and Rumi, I wish I had the book right by me. I'd read off the names. There are Muslims from past centuries who would agree, ye shall know them by their fruits. Is their fruit giving? Is their fruit loving? Is their fruit toward charity and kindness? When people say that Muslim teaching is our teaching, it's true in that There was a time when that was a part of Islam, was giving and charity and living a moral and honest and upright life. And as far as I can tell, that's gone. I do not see moral and upright people having fucking rape gangs. Yeah, I said it, YouTube. Ding me if you must. I don't see that as a moral and upright people. I don't see a moral and upright people undermining countries that gave them shelter and gave them charity. And so we're going to destroy that country. That's the mark of a coward. If you want Islam to be great, dare I say, make Islam great again and go back to the ancient works and not this goofy ass preaching from these imams that may have read the Quran once, maybe, and say that it's okay to rape a white woman because she is your lawful booty because you won the war. Really? Real charitable, real loving. We sing of Allah, the just and merciful. Really? Okay, sorry. I got off on a tangent. I'm a bad person. Connie Cleary, hail and well met. And she too has been a member for 4 months. Thank you again for your goodness and kindness. It was really helped. Like I said, I got the check at the end of the month here. It wasn't like ginormous, but it was a big, big help. It was a big, big help. And gap of after dark. Yeah, no, this is a good point. And I've again, I've been trying to be kind and what have you, but you want to hear the call to prayer where you live 5 times a day? I don't. And that is, again, that's something that there needs to be peaceful debate of some kind in those cities. But was it right to have a city's population go within a few years from mostly Christian to, I don't know about a majority, but a substantial number of Muslims? And how were we supposed to prepare for that? And what, anyway. Gap After Dark. Never met a fence sitter before. I hope I'm not a fence sitter. That's not what I'm meaning to do. Um, and it's not a bad point. Admit that sometimes subcultures just can't get along and get along together. That that does, you know, all my life we've been taught we need integration and this and that. But here's the deal. When when you look at the times when Muslims and Christians and Jews could live together in peace and harmony, first of all, there were also a lot of times when they didn't. But when you look at the times when they did, you had to have people that were teaching and preaching that you're no better than the Christian, you're no better than the Jew. You should be treating the Jew and the Christian or whatever, you should be treating your fellow man with kindness and dignity and respect. When those teachings stopped, and I would suggest that a lot of that teaching stopped somewhere between the 20s and 40s. And if you look into it, some of that influence came from a certain German mustache man. And I'm going to leave it at that. Do your own research. I don't want to I don't want to do all of the thinking. I think when it's stopped being taught that you treat the Christian and the Jew with dignity, and it started being taught that the infidel is altogether evil and must be destroyed and must be enslaved and is your lawful booty from war. Yeah, you can't. You can't get together along and get along. It's what is happening between the right and the left. And I'm afraid to say that I see it more on the left. I'm not saying I don't see any of it on the right, but I see more of it on the left. We're not going to condemn anybody being assassinated. We're going to talk about all the things we didn't like about the person assassinated. Well, but that doesn't mean I'm justifying it. Well, what is it then? What are you doing? Because you would howl and protest and disgust if the same thing happened to Biden or Kamala or Obama, and I said anything other than what I should say, which is that was a disgusting act. This is not America. This is not how we do things here. This is how third world dictatorships do things. It's a good comment, though. I hope I gave it its just desserts, because I mean it. Everything I said, I mean with kindness and respect in my heart toward you and everyone that's in here. In Dearborn, they're barely rubbing bacon on the Koran. Yeah, I'm not saying rub bacon on the Koran, but having said that, should you go to jail for rubbing bacon on a Koran? I would say no. Is that rude and disrespectful to another religion? Yes, but then maybe that other religion needs to not be rude and disrespectful and burn down churches and rape our women. I'm just saying. Sci-fi Sith Dan, hate to say it, from what I see and hear, Islam is to fundamentalists to work in a constitutional republic. Islam either needs reform desperately like Christianity did, or to be done away with. I'm just going to let that statement stand, because I hate to say it, but I pretty much agree with it. The Muslims do need some kind of reformation. They need to get back to not necessarily just the Quran, but I would say the Quran with the works of certain Sufis. And those teachings need to become, because, like, I'm going to tell you, if I lived next to a Muslim that was practicing what Rumi taught and Shams Tabriz taught, I would, you know what? They could knock themselves out. They could do almost, well, within reason, they could do whatever they wanted, because they would be good, peaceful people who were contributing to the community. And you're not wrong, Reslet Germ. I know, again, I sound like I'm being equivocal here. Most of the works that I'm referring to, and if you notice, I'm not referring to the Quran. I haven't read enough of it to give a good commentary on the Quran itself. But there, some of the works from the 13th and 14th centuries, there was some pretty good stuff there. And there was also some really terrible stuff going on at the same time. Not every Muslim was Rumi or Shams Tabriz. It's like with Christianity. You've got your saints and you've got everyone else. So, yeah. Oh, did I miss Charlotte? Yes, I did. Crap. I'm so sorry. Howdy, Agent Charlotte Nightstar. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome. Gap After Dark. America has been too kind. We need to pull back and think about ourselves for a while. And I would agree. I don't know that we necessarily need to kick all immigrants out, but as far as illegal immigrants, yeah, get most of them out. And as far as bringing in more Muslims, no, not for a while. We need to get back to a point where we want people who are building our communities. And if you want to influence us with good and honest and kind Islam, that's fine. But we're not going to change the Muslim overnight. It is not going to happen. Just as we should not go. I don't think we went into Iraq. I mean, we did some stupid crap, don't get me wrong, but I don't think the intent was ever, we're going to change Iraq to a Christian nation. I would suggest we were probably kinder in that invasion than some of the Muslims have been over here. Maybe I'm full of shit. I wasn't there. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, the Islam founder, was a warlord and a conqueror. He was. Are you sure you want Islam to go back to basics? That would result in full-on holy war. Yeah, no, that's why if you notice, I threw in the works of some of these other people. That time never really happened. Yeah, I mean, there are those that would try to tell you, and there, I think there's a point to it, but I also think that there's often a reality. Just as there's holes in Christian nations' armor, so have there been holes in a lot of Muslim countries' armor. You might have a just ruler here and there, but the majority of history, uh, the majority of history, I'll tell you why I'm laughing here in just a second. The majority of history, the same and just crap just keeps going on. And the danger of studying history is that you can become cynical, but it's a necessity to study it. And so the trick, and I have not mastered it, but the trick is to study it and yet not become cynical about humanity. And that's tough to do. That's really tough to do. Accounting sheep, I'm awfully tempted to give you the comment of the day. You should go to jail for wasting bacon. I agree. And it's not even about religion. I mean, wasting bacon, that's just terrible. And other people agree with you. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, it seems the only thing that united both Muslim and Christian is that LGBTQ crap with the far left trying to force it down our throats. Yep. Yep. Gorillas ever think that after 24 years after 9/11, New York would elect a Muslim foreigner as mayor? I had I've had my fever dreams about how we might fall into dystopia, but I didn't imagine it happening this way. I always kind of thought that there would be some kind of struggle, whether it was with bullets or whether it was with ballots, hopefully with ballots, and I didn't I didn't think New York would not even need a generation to pass before they would forget. Um, that doesn't mean that Muslims shouldn't have their vote or shouldn't have a say. I'm not even saying that there shouldn't have been a Muslim mayor, but this guy, really? No, 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 no. Resolute germ, the good, honest kind, were not Muslim traits, never was. Counting sheep, I'm pro crusades, which I guess puts me in the minority here. I don't think so. Counting sheep, I think, because I have had my shift, and I haven't shared much of this, but I'm learning there. Let me put it this way: there's definitely more than one way to look at the Crusades. If you're on one hand, yeah, we need to be careful about overly idolizing it. We need to be careful of saying that spreading Christianity by conquest is good. I don't think that, but I also don't know that the Crusades were all the way they've been taught. How many of you have ever read, and I haven't read it in the original language, but how many of you have read the Song of Roland or have read the story of El Cid? Um, these were not people invading any Muslim land. These were people defending their nation from Muslim invasion. See, our fathers may have been flawed and they may not have been saints, but they had one virtue that we have evidently forgotten, and that's you defend your family, you defend your tribe, you defend your country. I don't know when or where or why or how. Well, some of how I know, but somewhere that whole thing has gone away. We don't defend ourselves. The state defends us. That's why it's okay to ban guns, because the state will defend us. And I think it's all too obvious the state does not care. As long as they keep getting elected and keep getting richer and richer, the whole reason why they haven't cared is because they have this weird delusion that they're still going to be the ones in power. Whether it's the Muslims, whether it's the globalists, whoever it is that takes over when the republic falls, they have this weird delusion that they're going to be still on the inside. And I hate to tell them this, but probably not. Because nobody likes a traitor, even a traitor from the other side that helps you win the war. Sci-fi is not wrong here. The majority of history is very bloody and dark. PvP, darn it, I dozed off and missed this. That's okay. I should have sent you the link, but I know we're doing Dark Shadows later, and that's why I want to get this done very soon, because I've still got to pick the episodes and send you the link, and then we will be starting. Hope I understood you correctly in about an hour, but let me know if I misunderstood you, because I've got all evening. So just let me know when would be a good time to do Dark Shadows. Pertaining to this conversation, do you think America self-inflicted itself with all this invasion? I do. I do. I think that we allowed there's kindness and then there's stupidity. And I think we allowed a certain segment of us have allowed people to preach kindness, kindness, kindness. But if you ever notice, it's always one way. Because one of the things that I had to learn, and it took me way too long to learn, was it's got to be both ways. If I'm kind to you and you're shitty to me, well, it isn't really. It's like loving a woman who doesn't love you back. Yeah, it's romantic and you can make poems and music, but at the end of the day, it doesn't do anybody any good. As hard as it is to deal with, you have to get over her and move on to someone who will actually love you back. And that's like these immigrants. Okay, yeah, they're poor and that's terrible, but maybe let's be kind to those who are deserving of it and we'll be kind back. And the others can go pound sand. And I know that's easier said than done. I really do. Gorillas, I thought the debt would get us before the Muslims. Well, I think one more presidency and the debt probably would have gotten us. I think that's why they did the government shutdown, is they realized their key implements for undermining and destroying this country are going away. And they're panicking because now they thought they were going to be on top of this nifty globalist thing. And now it doesn't look like the nifty globalist thing is going to happen, or at least it ain't going to happen in the shape they want it. So now what? Gap After Dark. I worried about the future when I got older. Am I going to be surrounded by people who are not American and don't love America? Yeah, it's. I don't want to be fear mongering, and I don't want to manifest this. I want a strong America. I've gotten to where I don't really care what the race or religion is. Just love America and be respectful to the people around you. And then I don't really give a shit if you're brown or black or gay or straight or Christian or Muslim. But if you don't have those two basics, I still don't give a shit. I want you away. I want you away in your country. You go be shitty in your shithole. Don't make my place a shithole. And I'm sorry, PvP. It's okay. It's okay. I'm still recovering, so I felt that nappy feeling too. You got to read it in the original Klingon. Gap just came out west. You can experience that now. Gotcha, gotcha. Oh, just come out west. Gap, that would be good. Resolute, Counting Sheep. There's definitely a few war crimes sprinkled in. You can say the same about World War. Yeah, that's just it. There's very few people are saints, and you just have to. And even sometimes you learn about saints and find out that they weren't saints. Sometimes. Muhammad, I remember I was taught as a young person he was this great saint. He was this wonderful person, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but it does seem like he is less saintly than I thought he was. I I know I'm holding up these other two people, the Shams Tabriz and Rumi. Maybe I'm wrong about them. I'm still learning about them. But from what I can gather of them, when Rumi died, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and Hindus all mourned his passing. And to me, that is what would convince me that Islam is worth keeping. If if people from all kinds of different perspectives can be sad that you're gone, then maybe there was something worthy of your thinking. And if people were happy you're gone, uh, maybe not so much. All right. Resolute Germ. Honestly, we haven't been a republic in a long time. You're not wrong. Since they made senators popular vote, we stopped being Republican. I agree with that statement. I know that there are people who I deeply respect in this chat who will disagree with that, but I I happen to agree with you. I think that was when we went a bridge too far. That's just me. Gorilla has been censored again. It's only a war crime if you lose. Okay, I need to be wrapping this up. Accounting Sheep, do you have a song you want me to sing? Or I can also sing that at the end of Dark Shadows if you haven't got one thought of. It might be better to do it then because this has been a pretty serious. In fact, I'm going to make that suggestion. This has been a very serious post. I don't know about the rest of you. I feel good about the interactions. I'm sorry if I do seem a little milquetoast. It's like I say, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to tell you what's actually in my mind. And usually I've got this debate in my mind where I'm trying to make both sides arguments. And it's just, I don't know if that's a strength or a flaw, but it's the way I am. I rarely come at something just with, okay, this is the right thing. I debate things in my mind ad infinitum. So that doesn't mean that I know that there's a definite place for decisiveness. There really is, and I think that that's a problem that we have. Is we have too many leaders who don't have decisiveness. If I'm going to sing, let me think. What is a good song that would? You know what? I got an idea. I know my voice is a little bit scratchy and not really good enough for this, but if I'm picking it, um, yeah, I don't have the voice for it, but I'll sing this one. I think this is what would fit. Zippity doo dah. Sashi, welcome, welcome. Yes, we're all being horrible racist people, and that's why we welcome Sashi from Malaysia here. It's too early for me to think I need breakfast first. Welcome, welcome. Sashi is an amazing human being from Malaysia. And PvP, yeah, I overthink things, and PvP says he knows what that's like. Yeah, girls just want to have fun. Raspy voice. How about Maggie May? No. All right. I'm not going to do this justice. I hope y'all will forgive me, but please take it the way it's meant. And I hope that they're not, I won't say Annie, but I hope they're not Manny in this chat who can't agree with the lyrics of this song. I don't know it perfectly, but I'll do my best. All right. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining seas. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare of freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining seas. Oh, beautiful for halcyon sighs, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the enameled plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till souls wax fair as earth and air, and music-hearted sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrims' feet, whose stem impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till paths be wrought through wilds of thought by pilgrim foot and knee. And that's as far as I'm going to go with it, because my voice is hurting. Sorry, guys. I hope it was worth the money. Sorry, accounting sheep. That's all I could think of. I just didn't want to end it too flippantly. And besides, Sashi says, over here my government thinks for me. And how about the baby shark song? Tomorrow is just a day away. Oh, dear God, not baby shark. It's 6:10 a.m. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know if it was worth accounting sheep's generosity, but it's all I could think of that for me went with the general spirit that I think most of us, even if we disagree on some points, I hope most of us can agree. We love this country. We want it to be a great nation. We want it to be a kind nation. And I think most of us are willing to give up our lives, not our freedoms, but our lives and our comfort to keep it so. All right. I am going to call it a stream. I get that song even kind of pertains to Thanksgiving, doesn't it? I'm more clever than I thought. This time. Thank you so much, Counting Sheep, for that $2 super chat. Like I say, y'all's y'all's generosity is very, very much appreciated. Lizzie Armstrong, welcome, welcome. Hope you and Lizzie are doing well there in Australia. Chatty Blogger, otherwise known as Mike. I know we disagree on some points, but I hope we agree on our love of God, our love for the countries of America and Canada, United States and Canada. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, Kaplaw. Thank you very much for your kindness and support. Glory to you and your house. Real Way Nation Gaming, a recap. I got to remember you changed the name. Welcome, welcome, and I look forward to your stream Sunday of Gravity Falls. It will be fun. I will make sure to be rested and send you a email before I go to work, because I will work Sunday. I guarantee it. LDG at Free the Net, welcome, welcome. I apologize. I have not checked my Twitter, X, whatever the heck it's called, in a while. I've seen that you sent a message, but I haven't read it yet. My bad. I've been sick. I know it's a lame excuse, but basically I've been working and then sleeping for about a week or more. Let's see here. We've got Sci-Fi Sith Dan. Hell, welcome. I have a lot of wonderful creators here. I hope y'all will forgive me for not promoting all the great creators here. There's so many. I'll forget one if I don't. So let's go back here. We have Accounting Sheep. He does some great stuff with poetry and with having a senior moment with parody songs. Gorillas, I think we all know he does his watch parties and his cigar lounges. I miss way too many of them because it seems like I'm usually working, but it's weird. I don't work much, but work seems to get in the way. Chatty Blogger, he's been redoing his stuff. I know he's been doing reviews of some good old shows, so check him out. Real Way Nation Gaming Recap, he does a lot of stuff with gaming, and he's been streaming Gravity Falls, fun little show. And Sci-Fi Sith Dan, he does lots of shows talking about sci-fi, and he's pretty dadgum bright, so there we go. Tim, I don't think you make anything, but you've got some really amazing photographs. John Ponterero, who plays the guitar, or, well, he plays several instruments, honestly, I think. But he's been incredibly supportive. One of my first members who stuck with me while YouTube was fighting to not let me be monetized. And finally, I won my way through. I wish I could say it was with courage and determination, but frankly, it was with editing and with my tail tucked between my legs. But here we are. Resolute Germ, another great creator. I cannot remember. You do watch parties. And my mind is just COVID fog. Oh, I said the word. Oh no, I said it again. But yes, watch parties, and you also do talks with all kinds of people. I don't even, his reach is further than I know. I'm tired. I'm sorry, guys. All right, Connie Cleary, also wonderful member and creator as well. She makes little, really beautiful, cute shorts with birds and with music, and also she presents her crafts and things. So, Gap After Dark, I'm not sure if you do any creating. I need to check your channel out. Let me do that while I'm talking. No, I don't want to put him in a timeout. I want to look at his channel. Geez, foot. Okay, you've got some material here. Okay. So you've got, you've got shorts about various magazines. Logan's Run TV preview. That's cool. Battlestar Galactica. Okay, so you basically talk about some sci-fi TV shows. That's fantastic. Okay, so check him out. Okay, who else am I missing? Trying not to miss anybody. Agent Charlotte Nightstar. Oh, check out her stuff. She's got everything. You name it, she's got it. Go check her out. Incredible creator, lots of creativity. I don't know how she's got the energy to do it all, but you know what? She does. On that note, Connie never sleeps. And you should go to jail for wasting bacon. I think that's the comment of the stream right there. PvP, we're going to be doing Dark Shadows here in just a bit. I've got to get through this soon. Who have I missed? Did I miss anybody? Sashi. I don't know that you do any creating, but I know you've shared some yummy, delicious recipes on Mrs. Dadman Walking's channel. So check those out. Okay. Gap After Dark. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Excellent stream. You guys provided a lot of that excellence, though. Otherwise, it would just be me saying a bunch of pointless stuff. See, for Dark Shadows, what time am I starting? If I'm understanding you correctly, at 5 Central. But let me know if you need me to put it off, because I honestly can use some time to pick the episodes. But I'm going to go do that now. So, it's been said that life is pain. And anyone telling you otherwise is trying to sell you something. And it's true, I am trying to sell you something. I'm trying to sell you on the idea that liberty is better than tyranny. Freedom is better than slavery. And that you are, in fact, smart enough and wise enough and moral enough to run your own life. You don't need big governments and big corporations. You don't need big tyrannies telling you how to run your life. And lastly of all, I'm just tired enough that I can't remember the last line, but I'm going to say, have a great evening. I hope to see at least some of you for Dark Shadows, where I will be less politically charged, but we will be enjoying a show. And for those of you who have watched The Tick, spoon! Y'all have a wonderful evening.